And I think we all know, every agency owner knows how much of a headache getting access to things like Facebook ads, Google ads is. And it can take weeks if you're going back and forth and jumping on Zoom calls. And you guys have created such an amazing solution to making that so much easier.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to Happy Clients.
So why don't we jump in? Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and how you started Leadsie?
Yeah, let's do it. First of all, so Robert and I have been working with startups for, 15 years or so almost now. My background is in marketing, but we both ended up mentoring startups of all places, in Kuwait. And that's where we met in person, or even though we both actually worked in London for most of our careers. And yeah, so we met there, we worked together in a few accelerator programs, and we really liked working with each other. And that's why we decided to do something together, to create a company together. Yeah, and that's where we started about almost 2 years ago now. And we looked at this area, Facebook ads, as a starting point, and because we both thought that there's an area where we can help a lot of people. We just saw from working with different companies that there's so many companies who are doing things wrong and wasting a lot of budget, wasting a lot of time. So we actually started with a slightly different product in a similar kind of niche, but a bit different. First of all, wanted to help companies with a kind of like an audit tool to help them understand, are they following best practices with their Facebook and Instagram ads specifically, and what improvements can they make basically. And we also wanted to offer this tool to agencies so they could use it to generate leads. So that was basically our starting point for Leadsie. Yeah, and then we spoke to obviously a lot of agency owners. And one thing that also came up very frequently was the problem of getting access to the client accounts. So that is Facebook pages, ad accounts, the Pixel, and also other accounts like Google Analytics, ads, and so on. And that's how we kind of shifted focus a little bit and built what the Leadsie has become now, which is a tool to make it super easy to onboard your clients and get access to all the different accounts that you need as an agency.
I love it. And I think we all know, every agency owner knows how much of a headache getting access to things like Facebook ads, Google ads is. And it can take weeks if you're going back and forth and jumping on Zoom calls. And you guys have created such an amazing solution to making that so much easier.
I really liked that Leadsie is so easy. Of course, looking into everything that Leadsie offers and learning more about your business, it seemed like it was really just easy for customers to use and to understand. And I think the words you actually used were that you don't need to be an expert.
We want to make it really easy. We know a lot of agencies have not so tech savvy customers.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a nice way, a very polite way to put it.
I mean, we did a lot of investigating through the Facebook API and Google APIs and such. How can we make this the easiest possible thing for, let's say, the dentist in a small town in the Midwest to just get their agency up and running and make it really sort of 2 clicks?
I love it. That's so cool. So now when you're working with agencies, are you setting up this for them, or are they able to just go on and get started on their own?
They're able to pretty much get started on their own because we made it super simple. They just have to sign up. They have to connect their Facebook accounts, which obviously is a little bit confusing sometimes because everything on Facebook is tied to your personal account, but they have to log in and then just select their business manager that they want to use with their clients. And that's basically all they have to do. And they have a link they can send to their clients for either view only or for full admin or manage access. And that's pretty much all they need to do. If they want to also get access to other platforms, like I mentioned Google Ads, for example, or Google Analytics, we also offer that. And they can just configure that in the tool settings, and that's it. So it's fairly self-explanatory, and that's one of the benefits that we provide.
Amazing. So can you give us a quick overview of how it works inside agencies and how it really is improving the client experience across the board?
Absolutely. For agencies, there are kind of two main use cases, right? The first one is if you look at the client journey, many agencies offer what they call like a free audit, or it could also be just part of their client, journey. When they first talk to their prospects, they say, hey, like we would be happy to see if you're fit for us, and they offer an audit, right? An audit usually entails the agencies looking at the Facebook accounts, Google, other whatever different activities, probably also organic social activities. And in order to do that in a good way, they need access. So the first use case we help with is getting access as a view-only access without having like any rights to change anything. And so what they would have to do with Leadsie is they literally just send a link, the client logs in again with their Facebook account, and then they get a very self-explanatory screen where they have to select, okay, which assets do you want to give access to? So for example, your Facebook page and your ad account, and they click confirm and it's done. So in the best case, it's 2 clicks, and that gives access to the agency to run audits. And then the second use case is obviously when you start working with the client. So if everything goes well, they would then want to have more access to really run ads, to get access to audiences as well. So there are a couple of different use cases, but mainly it's running their social media activities and ad accounts. And then they would, again, same thing, send a link, but instead that link would actually give them the full access that they need. And the client just needs to log in again, or maybe they even still logged in and just click confirm and it's done. Like it's that simple.
Amazing. So many agency owners are probably like, wait, what? There's something that does that, which is, I think, our reaction, because inside Dot & Company, we have account managers working across tons of different agencies. So a couple of our client account managers said in the Slack channel, hey, has anybody been using Leadsie? Has anybody like, oh, I've heard of that. I've heard of that. So we were like, what is this? And really took a dive in. And that's kind of how this sparked is, we want to chat with the people who made this because this is so cool. And I'm sure that so many clients are just loving the experience of coming and working inside of an agency because it's just that much easier, which is so cool.
That's a really good point. We are saving the agencies time and hassle, and also we allow them to make a much better impression to their clients. So that's super, super crucial. At the same time, also, the client is much happier. So I think we're on the right podcast talking about client happiness. So obviously, we don't always hear the feedback directly because we don't have a direct relationship with the client, because that's the agency's client. We don't want to interfere with that too much. But we hear some feedback. We actually had one client who somehow saw our Facebook ad, and she left a comment to say how amazing the experience was giving access to her agency. And she said she was so happy to be able to spend time with her daughter instead of fiddling around with Facebook. Oh. It was like, wow, this is so amazing. And it's these stories that make us very, very confident this is a great solution for both, right?
And in our line of work, we are obviously interacting with clients all the time, and we know that they really appreciate that ease. So we know firsthand that clients love easy and that they need things streamlined and they want it really fast. You don't want to create those bottlenecks. So they often have other priorities and things that they're doing. So you really want to just make that technical side, like you said, super easy and not kind of overdone for them. So when they have time to dedicate to the tech sort of side of things, it only takes a little bit of their time, and it's really easy for them to use, super user-friendly, right? So making that familiar from what we know about clients is just so beneficial.
So what's next for Leadsie moving into the new year? What are you working on? Obviously, this is an amazing product as it is, but what's next for you guys?
Maybe I can talk about one of the exciting new features that we're adding. As I mentioned, a lot of the end clients aren't so tech savvy, and a lot of the agency's customers don't have anything set up. They might not even have a business manager. They might not even have an ad account. Maybe if you're lucky, they have a page about their business, but in a lot of cases, a lot of businesses don't even have that. And so one of the things that we're doing at Leadsie is when you're giving access, if you don't have anything, you can actually create all of these things within Leadsie. So you don't have to handhold them through the painful process. I know you probably have done this recently. I know
Yes.
Johannes did this recently as well, where you spend sort of like an hour trying to figure out, okay, Facebook has moved the buttons, the different name of how a business manager is set up now, but this can all be done within Leadsie in the same effort of a few clicks.
That's so smart.
And I think even to my earlier point of people coming where we deal with a lot of small businesses, and this isn't a super known space to them, digital marketing and Facebook ads and Google and all that stuff. So when people come to us, they often are kind of starting at zero and making a huge investment. So having that much easier for them and having the client experience really been client friendly, right? Like it's beneficial to them. So I can definitely understand how you guys are making that process super easy for them. And then the agencies are looking really good.
It sounds like a small thing. And of course, when we first heard about it, we were like, oh, this is probably not a big opportunity. But the reality is it's one of the first client touch points that can be so painful. And it's no one's fault, right? Like it's neither the client who they might not have the experience of working with Facebook Business Manager or the other tools. That's not their fault. But also Facebook and sometimes even Google make it super hard. And then you just hit roadblocks where you're like, this should be working. It worked with 20 others, but with you, it doesn't seem to be. But all of this is not making a good impression, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the important thing. It's at a very crucial touch point when you want to build up this trust and showing your client, yes, we know what we're doing. Then you hit some roadblocks where you're like, this usually works. Sorry, why it doesn't do that? And it's just uncomfortable. And so that's what we're also trying to make it smoother for both sides.
Yeah.
We've
So
definitely
amazing.
heard of a few agencies who have lost clients in the onboarding process because
Oh yeah.
it's taken weeks to even set up a call. You finally get on a call and you don't know where things are. They don't know where the passwords are or whatever. And it's just frustrating for everyone. And we've heard it from many agencies now that they've lost clients in that process. Whereas now with Leadsie, you just send that one link and they're set up. Like the lady that Johanna spoke about, she had to do this onboarding at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and she was done, right? And then she could go home and play with her kid and spend some quality time.
Yeah. And what we've seen a lot is, say an agency brings on a new client and they're on a monthly retainer. A lot of clients don't want to start using their monthly retainer or paying until they're live. So if that going live period takes 3 weeks, the agency's losing a month of revenue from that client. So that is worth not only the relationship, but also the money for the agency, that it's just unnecessary. You should have that client live ASAP, but that process takes a long time.
Yeah, and clients put it off, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this right now. Maybe they're like on the go. You can't do it on your phone if you go through the manual way. With Leadsie, you can do it on your phone, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And more to your earlier point too, Robert, of kind of the next steps of Leadsie, we are seeing, just even as the world kind of doesn't really get over this COVID times, right? Like we're seeing these people that don't have to turn to, but are definitely turning to digital marketing, and they're not that savvy in the space, right? So they need all the things, and at their fingertips is just even better.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of these people won't know any different, but we do as the agency, that this is just so much easier. Yeah.
I can see this happening. I worked with this client that they were selling something, and their traditional sales process was to go door to door, meet people face to face, and like really interact and kind of make this sale on the spot. And when you can't do that anymore, but these people don't know what Facebook pages are, and they don't know what, sort of these assets and all the things that go into digital marketing. So I can imagine these people who are going door to door on the road can do it all from their phone. I'm sure they're like, oh my goodness, like, this is so great. So we definitely understand that for sure and can feel that pain. So making it easy and like really straightforward and checking all the boxes quickly without sort of losing time and money. It's a win.
Yeah, it's a win-win. Do you have any stories that you can share actually from working with for your agencies and their clients and on this part of the onboarding?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it, like I said earlier, when they sign up and it takes a month and then they're just like, oh, never mind, or it just eats into that whole process. So like, for example, I'm working with a client right now, we're doing YouTube ads, and I have a tech form for them to fill out to give me access to XYZ and all these things. And they don't have all the information for this one person to be able to fill it out. So they won't half fill it out because they need somebody else. So it's all these people who they need the information for, but really the access is one person. So if I could just send them one link, it would have been done 2 weeks ago, but now I'm following up. And to them, it's just like an irritating process, but really it's just a quick access. So that's an example of something I'm literally going through right now.
And I think that auditing piece is major too, because like 99% of the agencies I work with, you're right. The first step is to kind of go through all their stuff, audit, see where they're at, and just having that initial access makes the next step even easier. So it's not the weeks and phone calls. If it was a link and more access, because I know that piece is happening across the board, that just kind of the next steps in the waterfall of what's next is super important too. So that's totally smart. And that's what we're seeing a lot of too, just that auditing piece. And then I think people will audit the account, but not necessarily have them as the client, right? So if they can kind of secure them as a client, next steps, then that's awesome.
Yeah, helping that sales process.
The last thing I want to add is just giving access to the right things and at the right permission level too. So at this first audit, you don't need full access, and you probably also don't want full access. If you're a good agency would only want to have the access that they really need, because it can also be a bit of a liability. Like some clients, we've heard horror stories of them sharing their passwords, right? It's like, you don't want this because it becomes like maybe your problem that you never wanted to deal with, right? If something happens to that account. So it's much better we add the client through Facebook's recommended way, through partner access. So the agency actually to the client. And at the audit process, they only get the view-only access, so they cannot make any changes. So it gives also the client the trust to share that at that point in time. Yeah.
I have a quick question. I know we can do ad accounts for Facebook and Google. Can you do just straight Facebook pages for content marketing managers, for example?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Facebook pages is actually the easiest one because the client would not even need to have Facebook Business Manager set up. So it's super, super quick. If they need to set it up for some other reasons, they can also do it within Leadsie directly, the business manager. We already have that feature, so that we know that this is one of the big barriers. So yeah, but Facebook page, absolutely. And you can manage social posts, even with Instagram, if the client connected that with the Facebook page, all of that is possible, yeah.
And do you see yourselves getting into other platforms like Twitter, LinkedIn?
Great question. Yes.
You mentioned getting access to YouTube. That's our next integration that's coming soon. LinkedIn and Twitter are definitely very high up on the integrations list for sure.
Nice.
At the moment, we have 4 Google integrations. So Google Ads, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, and Google My Business.
Amazing.
Awesome.
And when you set up a Leadsie account, if you want access to one of them or all of them, you can set up a specific link. So if you wanted just Google Analytics, for example, you just want to take a look at analytics, you can set up a link that you can reuse with all of your clients if that's part of your process.
That's awesome. And I'm actually seeing a lot, I don't want to speak for all CAMs here at Dot & Company, but having those layers, you know, there's a time when you could have put all of your eggs in the Facebook basket, right? But having those different layers are totally necessary when iOS updates happen and blackouts happen. So that's totally smart. I'm seeing a lot of agencies go to Google Analytics as like a pretty accurate way of reporting and seeing the metrics.
We speak a lot about Facebook, but obviously we also want agencies to enable them to use new platforms, like for example, TikTok ads, something that especially gets bigger in e-commerce, which we want to support. So if anyone from TikTok is listening, please get in touch with us and activate your API for that use case. There's some other tools that we can already integrate with. So Pinterest ads, for example, we will be adding. We mentioned LinkedIn. So this diversification of ad budget is also something we want to help the agencies with and make it super easy for the clients.
I love it. So how can agency owners get set up with Leadsie and make this transition as soon as possible?
We have a special deal for all listeners, actually. You can sign up on leadsie.io/happyclients. And we will increase your trial period to 30 days instead of the normal 14 days if you go through that link. And essentially, yeah, it's easy as just putting in your email and connecting your Facebook account and you're on. We're always there to help if you have any questions or need clarifications about things or a demo even. We're here to help with that.
And I will speak from personal experience. I did a demo with both of you and it was very easy. It took 3 minutes maybe to get set up, to go through the whole process. So I can speak from experience that it is as simple as it sounds.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you both
Yeah.
so much for coming on and telling us all about Leadsie. We think this is just fantastic and a really good addition to the client experience. So we're very excited and thankful that you guys have put in so much work to create an amazing product.
Thank you so much. That was a pleasure to share our experiences.
Cheers to happy clients.